Kathi Lipp, welcome to the Grace Health Podcast.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad to be here with you, Amy. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, not as glad as I am that you are here. You do a lot of different things and you serve a lot of different people. And I show up in your spaces listening, and I'm on the receiving end of listening to your wisdom in a lot of
Mm.
different areas. And so, truly, Kathleen, it is just a joy to invite you into this Graced Health space. And I'm so glad that we are going to get to talk about Sabbath soup and meal planning and prepping and all of that kind of stuff today.
I'm thrilled. It's my favorite thing to talk about, and I love talking about it with friends. So, what more perfect combination could there be?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so you've written this book called Sabbath Soup. I talked about it a little bit in the intro, but I'm curious before we get into that, I would love to know what your relationship with the Sabbath is, which is kind of a weird thing, right? Because it's something
Yeah.
that God commands for us.
Hmm.
However, we all have a different story of
Yeah.
Sabbath in our life. So, just in
Right.
general, I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I didn't really grow up with a Sabbath practice. I mean, my family for some of my life went to church on Sunday mornings, but that was essentially it. And then as I got older, got married, had kids, I went to a church that talked a lot about Sabbath, about the things you shouldn't be doing. And what I took that on as, let's be clear, because it was the 90s, that it was my job to make sure that everybody had a rest. So I would work like a dog so that everybody could have a nap and that we didn't have to leave the house, we didn't have to go to restaurants. And there was a lot of don'ts with that Sabbath. And then, as my kids got older, as I got remarried, I don't know, I saw Sabbath as a gentler thing, that God was saying, here's this gift, this gift of recognizing my provision and being with my people and being with me. And, but I still didn't have that missing link of how do I make Sabbath happen without killing myself? And so that, I think that's been the evolution of saying, okay, I know how to enjoy a Sabbath without also being a martyr, without having other people put expectations on me that feel unrealistic. And I really do enjoy that time as the gift that it is.
It
But it's
really is
taken
a
me
gift.
57 years. 57 years, so okay.
Yeah, we're all on a learning journey. So,
Yes, exactly.
yeah. And, it is a gift and it's such an invitation, but it's also hard to do. I used to lead a small group at my church of young adult. And it was such a special group to me because they were like 20 to 27 and they were
Mhm.
either in college or in their early on in their young adult. And we did a study, I'm sure you've heard of it, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by
Yes,
John Mark
yes,
Comer. And
absolutely.
it was a great book. And we were
Mhm.
reading it, and told them, I'm so glad that they are thinking about this now so they can establish these rhythms, because it wasn't
Mhm.
even on my radar. I didn't,
Right.
it wasn't, it just wasn't there. And
Yeah.
I thought, gosh, how nice it would be for them to integrate this into their
Mhm.
rhythms as they are starting their careers, as they are potentially getting married and all of that. So yeah, I love it. You talked about some of the, like, that you found all of some benefits in honoring the Sabbath. You didn't
Mhm.
even realize what some of those opportunities were. Do you mind sharing some of those with us?
No, of course not. So, I think you hit on a key concept there, rhythms. And, it's so interesting. You and I both, lived through the 90s, and I lived through the 80s as somewhat of an adult, somewhat of a child. But I remember growing up under the idea of if you just worked as hard as you possibly could, then good things would come to you. And one, that's a lie.
Mhm.
Two, it didn't take into consideration the wholeness of our bodies. And when I say our bodies, I'm also talking our mind, our spirit, all of that. We just thought, if you just worked as hard as you could, your company would recognize you, you would get the promotion or get the raise or whatever that was. And then at some point when you needed to, you could rest. And that just did not take into consideration any reality,
Right.
of anything going wrong in your life, wanting to have balance in your life. And now there's kind of a backlash to saying, well, your life is never balanced because, there's always some spinning plate that's kind of out of control. And I would say that, but also I'm a very busy person. I'm a very focused, driven person. There are lots of things I want to do, but I have realized that by taking a Sabbath, I am ready for the work ahead and I've recovered from the work that's behind me. And not everybody gets to live that out. And so to say I'm too good for Sabbath or I'm too driven for Sabbath, it feels like such a rejection of God saying, look, I know who you are. I know how I've designed you. And I'm nicer when I've taken a Sabbath break. I am healthier. You know probably a little bit about my health journey, but at one point in my life, I was 100 pounds more than I am right now.
Wow.
And that's when I was living that 24/7 lifestyle. Now, I'm not going to say, if I had just taken, those 24 hours off, I wouldn't have had a weight issue. But I finally kind of aligned a lot of things. I could start making better decisions that were not just about recovery, but they were about how can I live in alignment? How can I live with purpose and not just recovering all the time from living at extremes?
The thing that came to mind when you were talking is I feel like when we are in this hustle, 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 more,
Mhm.
all of that, then we are continually amped up in that high stress state.
Mhm. Yes.
And we aren't able to be in alignment. We aren't able to feel that wholeness when we don't allow ourselves to come down and
Yes.
take a breath.
Can I tell you something so interesting? There was a study done at UCLA, and one of my other passions is clutter. My dad was a hoarder. We lost him 10 years ago today that we're recording.
Oh my
I
goodness.
crazy, right? And so clutter has always been an issue I've dealt with. And the stress hormone cortisol is out of whack when women are surrounded by clutter. It doesn't affect men, it affects women. And so that chaos factor in our lives, UCLA says that's affecting our health. And so when you think about that, when you think about living in these extremes, I always talk about it as I'm trying to learn to take care of my future self. So if I am preparing food on Friday that I'm going to eat on Sunday, that's taking care of my future self. If I put the scissors back in the butcher block when I'm done using them, that's taking care of my future self. And all of those things are not only lowering my stress level, they're also helping my health. And
Mhm.
they may be just like tiny little incremental things, but I'm doing it for good, and that's what I want.
So, funny thing about the phrase taking care of your future self,
Mhm.
you say that a lot. And at the end,
Yeah.
I'm going to actually ask you to share all the different spaces you're in because my
Yeah.
connection to you is more writing at the Red House,
Right.
podcast, communication, all of that
Yes.
kind of stuff. But that is a phrase I learned from you. And my son, when he was a junior in high school, I say this to them all the time, or when they were in the house. We are brand new empty nesters. And
Wow.
his one of his teachers would have a phrase on the chalkboard of like this was the phrase that they honed in on the entire school year. And at the end
Mm.
of the school year, my son said something to her about taking care of your future self, and she went, "Oh, that's next year's phrase."
Oh, no way.
Yes. So your wisdom is just continues to live on. through high
that's
school students.
amazing. Oh, that
Yes.
makes me so happy. You know
Yes.
what? Because, oh my goodness, if our high schoolers
Mhm.
could learn that thing. Because let me tell you, I was at my much of my life was at my worst in high school, like studying at midnight or like it's too late, never mind. You know, that was a lot of my living. And even if they could see the rewards just a little bit sooner than in their 20s, what a gift,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
so along these lines of taking care of your future self, you have written a book to help us take care of our future self. It's
yeah.
called Sabbath Soup. And I feel like it helps us navigate this physiological need for food so we can
Mm-hmm.
feed our soul during the Sabbath.
Yes.
I invite people to fill out a form when they join my community so I can kind of understand, where people's
Mm-hmm.
pain points are. And a huge portion of people who fill it out, one of the things that they say is a big pain point of them is meal planning. Like, I just
Right.
can't. I'm
I
so
get it.
overwhelmed by this.
Yeah.
I have gotten to take a peek at Sabbath Soup, and this is what I love, Kathi. So I'm gonna say what it is. I'm gonna let you
Mm.
talk more about it.
Okay.
But it is, you guys, if you want to be spoon fed, this is it. Kathi tells you how to do it. She tells you what days, all surrounding getting a weekly rhythm so you can take a Sabbath. So,
Yeah.
with that, you can clarify or correct anything that I said. But
Mhm.
also, I want to hear what inspired you to write this.
Chaos, you know, the desire for the lack of chaos. Amy, you're probably too young to remember this, but some of the people who are listening are not. There was a book back when, you know, my kids were little beans, and it was called Once a Month Cooking. And it was 30 recipes that you would cook on one day to get ahead in life. And I did that for years. And it was okay. I'll just say
Wait a minute,
the re-
all 30 recipes in one day
yes,
when you
30
had littles.
different recipes, 30 different recipes.
Well, that's great if your kids are gone all day.
Yeah. And, you know, back in that day, I don't know that I thought I had permission to, you know, say, "Hey, husband, could you?" I'm married to somebody different now, but could you take these children while I do this? So let me tell you the evolution. So I went from that, and we didn't really enjoy the recipes. I'm not going to lie. I loved them because they were done, but my family did not enjoy them. Then the next evolution was we did something called Six Chicks Freeze and Fix. And I love a good title, so I came up with that title,
Okay.
where I had five friends and myself. We would each make three main dishes, and we would make six portions of them, freeze them. Then we get together in the Costco parking lot at 8 in the morning, and we'd swap them all. It looked like a drug deal gone bad. It was so weird looking, right? But we went home
With
with 18
tinfoil.
frozen. Yes, exactly. We went home with 18 different meals. And it was such a help. It's hard to do that these days. We didn't know as much about food allergies and intolerances as we do now. And so this is kind of a natural evolution for me where I just decided I needed to get ahead. I needed to take care of Monday Night Kathi, who, you know, I like you, like everybody who's listening, Monday we're shot out of a cannon, back to work, doing all the things. And it's just like, how do we even do this? So what I've done is just said, okay, what can I do Friday or Saturday, whatever your cooking day is, so that I can have that real 24-hour break and I can have a plan for the rest of the week. So, you know, we do this. If you're cooking on Saturday, then you're prepping on Thursday. So you're chopping up vegetables and things like that. Wednesday is when you're going shopping. Tuesday, you're making the list and cleaning out the fridge. Monday, you're making the meal plan. Each day, you're saying, I'm taking care of my future self. And it's a gift.
This is a new concept to me
Mhm.
because I have always been in a rhythm of meal planning for the week, going to the
Mhm.
grocery store.
Yeah.
I used to be great about only going once. That sometimes gets a little muddy.
Sure.
But I find it interesting and intriguing that you are kind of doing a couple things in tandem because you're still enjoying the meals that you had prepped. So you're kind of cooking and consuming, and when I say cook, I mean like the real secondary stuff that
Mhm.
you did from the week before, but you're also prepping and planning. So like
Right.
Monday night, this is novel to me. Like Monday, we're meal
Mhm.
planning of what we are going to purchase and prep on Friday or Saturday.
Right. Because I don't have a full day to be doing any of this. And you know a little bit about my situation. I do not live in town. I live about an hour and 20 minutes from a chain grocery store. And so it this has helped with my rhythm to say I'm not doing a big thing on any one day except for my actual cooking day where I'm taking a couple of hours to do that. But, if I can determine on Monday what I'm going to be eating Saturday night, I don't feel rushed to say, okay, I'm making the meal plan. Now I'm making the grocery list because I have to check what we already have in stock. And now I'm prepping. Like, none of it wears me out. It's a
Mhm.
gentle, it's a gentle journey into eating. And I should be very clear, Sabbath Soup is not a diet book. It is if it's and I think you can consider it healthy or unhealthy depending on what your natural eating plan is and what you do. But let me just say the process is the healthiest I've ever been in. Yeah, so I look at my refrigerator and you don't have to follow the meal plan. Nobody's getting gold stars out here. But if you're like, I don't have everything for that mushroom soup, but I have everything for chicken tortilla soup, go off. That's exactly what I want you to do. What I've done are some meal plans. It's kind of like Saturday night is kind of our big meal. And maybe you decide I want to do that on Friday night or Sunday night. It's fine. Do whatever you want. But like that's the night we'll have a roast chicken or we'll do, something along those lines. Sunday after church is our soup. And then Sunday night is kind of more of a comfort food thing, something fun like maybe a chicken enchilada casserole or something like that. And those are our three main meals. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're eating the second portions of those. Maybe that roast chicken turns into chicken tortilla salad or something like that. But we're reimagining that. And then Thursday and Friday we're eating out and we're having a pizza because I don't know, life without pizza, I don't fully understand it. And we happen to have a pizza oven, so we're a little
Oh.
bougie with it. But even if it's just mom putting in or dad, let's be honest, dad putting in a frozen pizza, you see, you don't, because you need a couple nights to not even think about it, right? And
Yes.
that's what I want for you.
For years, we did a Papa Murphy's Friday night, which
Yes.
Papa Murphy's is kind of the take and
Y-
bake, and so it's the best of
yes.
both worlds. They prep it, and then you bring it
Yeah.
home and you cook it when you want it, and I
Yeah.
loved it, and there was just some freedom about, like, "Okay, I don't have to do anything." But I wanna get into some practicalities here.
Yeah.
So Saturday is your big cook day. You
Yeah.
have prepped the veggies that you're gonna use on
Hmm.
Thursday. You have gently journeyed your way into big cook Saturday. And
Hmm.
then you're making then Saturday night your big dinner, your roast chicken or
Hmm.
whatever, and
Yeah.
the soup and the enchiladas,
Yes.
and that sustains you really until the end of the week.
It really does. And so also sometimes I will throw in there like, some kind of breakfast casserole or something. Depends. If you're one of those families who are like, we are just grabbing and going just so we can have a hope of getting to church within 15 minutes of it starting, go off, right? But, there is when I do those 3 main meals with some sides, Saturday night, I'm putting that chicken into the oven and roasting it. And then when it's got leftovers, it's just going back into the fridge. The soup, I'm cooking on the stove top or maybe in the slow cooker. I'm letting it cool down. I'm putting it back into the fridge. And then Sunday after church, I'm either putting it onto the stove top to reheat, or Sunday before we go to church, I'm just sticking that back into the slow cooker and it's ready and waiting when we get there. And the enchilada casserole on Saturday when I'm, preparing that, stick it in the fridge, pull it out on Sunday night, stick it in the oven, it's good to go. So I'm doing very minimal things on Sunday. And here's the beautiful thing, and you like taking care of your future self. The number one way to do that is to pre-decide. Like,
Mhm.
I've already decided what we're eating. I've already decided when I'm prepping it. I already know the sides that are going with it. The other thing is we do a dessert on Saturday nights. So,
Yes.
yes, right? We just out of the cookbook, we did spiced peach cobbler. And
Oh
I'll
my
be happy
goodness.
to send that to you so that you can share it with your audience. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just something a little different, taking advantage of summer and fall fruits. Um, it it's worth it. Just a little something to look forward to. And so,
Yes.
and Saturday night is our night to kind of linger around the table or bring part of that dinner to a neighbor who maybe is struggling. If you have a larger family, instead of one roast chicken, you may be doing two. That's what I did when we had 4 teenagers at home, but it works. And you can kind of, you feel the pressure off of you the rest of the week. It's a beautiful thing.
I love that. And I also love the idea of something like a spiced peach cobbler because oftentimes there will be extras that you can
Yes.
enjoy again.
100%. 100%.
Well, and I tell you what, I'm going to put this in the show notes that I email
Yeah.
out. So if you're listening to this, it'll already be in your inbox if you get those. If you just get my monthly newsletters, I'm going to put that in the monthly newsletter.
Mm.
And Kathi, you do provide, this is one thing that I found interesting too, and I like it, is you provide just kind of some inspiration for like, here are some meals. And then you also provide many, many recipes and especially
Mhm.
those soup recipes alongside it.
Mhm.
But, and I can't remember the example of one of them,
That's
but like there are some things that we all have our own little
right.
personal recipes
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
But, you've got some great things in there. I mean, you've got this, you've got some pesto chicken, you've got air fryer
Mm.
smashed baby potatoes and roasted butternut squash soup. I mean, you guys, there are so many recipes that we can make on this Saturday or whatever your big cook day is to be kind to our future self.
Yeah, there are 24 soup recipes and over 100, I think like 120 different recipes in there. And I mean, we have everything from wonderful ways to prep some vegetables to Nutella brownies. Like we make sure we cover everything there.
We're
Be-
there.
because I want my Sabbath meals to feel special.
Yeah.
It's a break. Yeah, some of those other meals are like, hey, the chicken tortilla salad, things like that, just Caesar salad, those kind of things. Those are, weeknight staples. But I want some Nutella brownies in my life. That I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
We all do. Of course,
Yes,
we all
of
do.
course.
The word that I think of when you say you want your Sabbath meals to be special is nourishing. So
Yes,
yes,
yes.
physically nourishing, but
Right.
also, we've had a lot of conversations on this show about intuitive eating and about
Mm-hmm.
discovering the satisfaction factor and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that food is so much more than just sustenance.
Yeah.
It really, and the experiences that we have around the table. And so you are wanting nourishment on that Sabbath, which to me, it has to be one of the things that God was wanting us to have on Sabbath.
You
Not
know,
to put
I,
word in God's mouth, but
yeah,
it's got to be in alignment with that.
absolutely. To be nourished is to be satisfied, right? And one of the tenets of Sabbath is to recognize the provision of God in our lives. So you're not putting words in God's mouth. God is putting words in your heart and your mind. So you're good on that. But also, let me just say this. I am no expert at intuitive eating. Okay. Let's just be 100% clear. But there is something about planning these meals and saying, hey, we're using part of this as leftovers, where I am really checking in with myself to say, oh, that's enough.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied. And just I think sometimes when we're just planning for that meal, we've got our proportions set out and we're like, okay, you get a quarter, you get a quarter, you get a quarter, you get a quarter. And it's very easy for me to eat that quarter and not check in with myself to say, is that enough? Do I feel satisfied? Not just my hunger, do I feel satiated, but do I also feel, and let me, like, truth in advertising here, please. And I'm on Ozempic, okay? Because my satiety trigger is broken. It has been broken my whole life. But this is helping me to check in with myself.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for that. And I'm also grateful knowing, hey, that was delicious. And by the way, I can have that on Monday night too. It's
Mhm.
okay. It's not going anywhere. And so to be okay with that, and not, I, as somebody who struggles with clutter and some food issues, like the hoarding tendency is strong with me. It is strong. And so to know that there's enough and I'm going to be okay is something I have to remind myself of. But I feel like this way of cooking really lends itself to that.
I think that is wonderful insight, and I had never thought about hoarding and food issues, particularly as they relate to that food noise in your brain or the
Mm-hmm.
insecurity of, well, gosh, am I going to have enough? I'd never thought about those going together, but that makes a lot of sense.
It has been such a gift to me. I mean,
Good.
it
Yeah.
really has to be able to say it is enough and I'm
Yeah.
okay. And by the way, if I'm hungry later, it's okay to go back because it's okay to nourish myself. But
Yeah.
it's having to have that new conversation. And again, I am not an expert. I'm just saying this is what's helping me.
Well, everything you've mentioned is actually one of the 10 principles, or you
Oh.
mentioned a lot of the things. There are 10 principles of intuitive eating. One of them
Mhm.
is feel your hunger or honor your hunger. One of them is feel your fullness. One of them is
Mhm.
discover the satisfaction factor. So, all of these things that you're talking about are
Mm.
absolutely in alignment with that because God gave us these bodies to be able to regulate what we need. And sometimes things get a little off. So, yes, I love all that you are saying. Okay, Sabbath Soup comes out October 8th. This is airing October 1st.
Mhm.
Okay, I have a personal plea. If
Okay.
this is interesting to you, if you're listening, then because I know the back end and I know how publishing works, if you can pre-order, that is so helpful to the author. It is, and if you could see Kathy's face, she is just like, when you like shake your head like and just like look down and like, oh, you have no idea. Like this is the response I'm getting from Kathy right now. It is so helpful. So if you are interested in this, pre-order it. You've got 7 days to pre-order it and you'll get this amazing book. Plus, it'll be helpful to Kathy.
Well, and also, let me just say, if you're one of those people who's like, I want it in my hot little hand, let me just say, there is a pre-order where we okay, can I tell you, I've never worked so hard on a book in my life. And then they told me, Kathy, you need to cut out 4 weeks. And I'm like,
Oh,
help me, Jesus. But they said, but don't worry, we're going to turn that into a pre order bonus. And I'm like, okay, that keeps me from wanting to drive up there and have words and throw fists. So yeah, if you do it, if you go to sabbathsoup.com, you can see how to pre-order. Plus there is also a little bonus. It's called Soups On. And if you just, type your email address in there, it's an ebook. It has more recipes, it has more ideas, it has just more. So you can get started today.
You can absolutely get started today. That is awesome. I assume we can purchase Sabbath Soup wherever we normally
Everywhere.
purchase our books. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. That's great. So I ask these questions because I know that there is a little bit back end. Is there one place that is the most helpful to pre-order it?
I I Amazon. I'm sorry,
Amazon. Okay.
guys. You know what? If you do it on Barnes and Noble, if you do it on christianbooks.com, may your household be blessed. But Amazon is the problem. Okay, so little insider, which I know you know, Amy, but people who aren't in publishing may not know. Amazon purchases the number of books based on the pre-orders. So if you pre-order the book, they're going to say, "Oh, this is a good book. We should keep more in." What happens is if everybody waits till like October 8th, they run out of books
Mhm.
because they haven't ordered enough. It's this whole game that we have to play. And but if you go to sabbathsoup.com, like you can see all the fun places to order it and all the freebies. But you know what? Just even if you're like, I'm not in the financial place to do that right now, if you want to get the freebies, I'm happy for that. I just want to help everybody where they're sitting right now.
That's wonderful. That's super generous. Okay, Kathi, I've never done this on the show before, so you'll be the
Ooh,
first. But
yay.
would you be open to a lightning round of questions all centered around kitchen stuff?
Absolutely. Let's
So,
do it.
so lightning round, kind of first thing that comes to mind. Doesn't have to be, we don't have to have a full conversation about it. Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, go for it.
One piece of kitchen equipment that you can't live without. So something that's a little bigger.
Okay, bigger. So the Ninja air fryer, it's a I think it's an 8-in-1 air fryer oven, pizza oven. We just got this like a month ago. It's $138 at Costco. Not that I'm obsessed with this. We use it 2 to 3 times, maybe more than that. We use it for every meal. It's
Okay.
just the best thing I've ever used.
All right. That's a lot of wonderful things.
Yeah.
Okay, now, kitchen gadget that you can't live without. So think something that goes in a drawer.
Yeah. Okay. So, oh, this is such a good question. I've got like 7 that are competing. So, I think a zester is a
Okay.
really underutilized thing because if you could just zest a little lemon or lime or orange on about 80% of your things, whether it's savory or sweet, or just some Parmesan cheese, it makes everything better and you don't need much. And so I think a zester just explodes things.
I have to remember that. I do have a zester. I
Hmm.
make a lot of things just with straight salt and pepper. So I'm going to have to remember that. I made some fish last night and I thought, oh, I should have done that now. Yeah,
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry, I have to give you a second one
please.
because
Okay.
it's called Mama Kitchen and it is okay, it looks like a giant bullet and it's a can opener that you just put on top of your can and you hit a button and it turns all the way around and it's not very big like we have one in our RV, but if you have any mobility issues, especially like in your wrists or your hands, game changer. I
Oh,
love it.
good to
And it
know.
makes you feel like you can multitask.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Okay. I'm asking this question. This is going to sound
Yeah.
like a strange question to someone who doesn't know you,
No.
but because I've been listening to you, I know that you love cheese and I
Yes.
know that you have chickens and that
Yes.
you do a lot of chickens. So
Yes.
choose one, and those chickens produce eggs. Choose one
Yes.
of these foods to eat every day for a month: cheese
Okay.
or eggs.
Oh, come on. That's like Sophie's choice. But okay, here's an interesting answer. Cheese, because fresh laid eggs can last up to a month. So
Oh, strategic, being kind to the future
strategic,
self.
yes. And I could make so many angel food cakes, which require 12 eggs at the end of that. So, yeah, I probably don't eat eggs every day, but I do. I'm sure I have some little form of cheese. Like I just had chili for lunch. And of course, a sprinkle of cheese
Of
makes it
course.
so much better. It's just a little bit. You just need a little bit. It's so wonderful.
Okay. I like your thinking with that. That's very strategic. Current favorite dish to cook?
Oh, oh, oh. It would either be our homemade pizza, or you mentioned it earlier. I just did the pesto chicken, and I could probably eat that, I don't know, like several nights in a row. Because we have a garden and we've got basil from that garden, and I was able to freeze a bunch of it last year. And so I love a good pesto. So yeah, pesto
I need
chicken.
to know more about that. Okay, well, the final question. Describe a meal that nourishes your body and soul. So this will be a Sabbath meal.
Okay. So this is going to sound really crazy, but I want to talk to my friends out there who are not big fans of cooking. I love so much a pull together meal. I have a couple of them in the cookbook too, which are the no cook cookbooks,
Mhm.
but like to get that roast chicken at Costco, to do like a little charcuterie board to put alongside of it. And anything where you can nibble and linger, that is a soul satisfying meal to me. And I don't drink alcohol, but I would serve some of our local wines with that because somebody would enjoy that. I don't drink, so I would have like a sparkling like apple juice or orange juice or something like that. And then it would have to finish off with some cookies and a really good coffee. And that's like my perfect, even if I don't feel like cooking, I can gather the ingredients. The only thing
Mhm.
I wouldn't have on hand is the chicken. And or I make a killer chocolate chip cookie. And to
Ooh.
have those that come fresh out of the Ninja oven with some coffee, it
Uh,
doesn't get better than that.
no, it doesn't sound like it could. Thank you for participating in our first ever lightning round. I
Love
love
it.
that. And I'm definitely going to have to check some of those out. Okay, I've got some questions I ask all my guests. One of them is I love learning about people's tattoos because I have found that when someone puts something on their body for the rest of their life, often they have a meaning behind it. I don't have any, but I like to learn about other people's. So I
Mhm.
was wondering if you have any tattoos, would you be willing to share what one or more, or just one of them if you have more, and the meaning behind it? But if you don't have any, but you had to get one, what would you get and where would it go?
Okay, I do not have any tattoos, but can I tell you a story, a quick story?
Absolutely.
When I was going through my divorce, and I think this is a lot of times when people get tattoos and really short haircuts, right? Like you're going through something that's so life-changing and so monumental. And so I really wanted to get a heart that, an outline of a heart that had my son's name on one side and my daughter's name on the other. And when I told them about this, they were mortified. They thought that was the worst idea they've ever heard in their entire lives. They could not believe I would do something like that. My daughter now has about 10 tattoos and did not ask for my
I was going to
opinion
say,
on
probably
either.
did not ask for a consult
Right.
on this.
Right. And I always ask her to tell me the story behind them. They kill her grandmother. I just think that they are part of who she is and her
Mhm.
self-expression. And I too love to ask people about their tattoos because if you if you were willing to go through that amount of pain, I need to know what was so meaningful to you. So
Mhm.
again, as a fellow non-tattooer, I love to hear the story.
I do too. And I have to say, good thing you listen to your kids because with your husband who you're married to now, you
Yeah.
also have 2 bonus children. And so they would have
Right.
felt really left out.
Or they would have been really weirded out if I had gotten their names. So it's best that we just all decided no tattoos and we love them all. Yes,
That's right.
exactly.
That's right. Okay, Kathi, how can people connect with you?
I would love for you to go to sabbathsoup.com. I don't mean to keep repeating that. Or if what we were talking about with clutter kind of rings a bell, because I know that that is an issue for a lot of people. On Facebook, we have a free group. It's just called Kathi Lipp's Clutter Free Academy. And if you just need some support when it comes to decluttering and getting your life a little bit more aligned, we would love to have you over there.
Yes, that is, yeah, and you call it the kindest little corner on the internet, I
It
think. So
truly
it is.
is,
Yeah.
truly is. We kick There are between 15 and 16,000 people over there, and
Wow.
we are very quick to kick people out if they are unkind or judgmental. We don't stand for, because nobody grows in that kind of environment. So we are very kind until you're unkind, and then you're on your way out.
You have boundaries. This
Yes.
is good. This is
Yes.
good. Okay, do you have a Bible verse that you would like to share?
Yes. Okay. So this has just been so helpful to me. It's Mark 2:27. When I get wrapped up in, am I celebrating Sabbath correctly? Because I'm doing some deconstructing from my childhood and my teenage years and young adult years that talks about, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. It wasn't about us obeying Sabbath to get that check mark. God said, this is my gift to you. And to really treat it as that, to go gently, I just read a quote. It's something along the lines of, when we're living in high gear all the time, rest feels like stress. And I'm trying to retrain my body to say, rest doesn't have to be exhaustion. It can be that gentle journey. And that's what I'm trying to learn, that it's not bad to take a nap on a Sunday. It's not bad to watch an episode of television that you really enjoy. It's not bad to take time away and sit down and play a board game with somebody you love. That Sabbath was made for man.
Mm, that is so good, and I have been on that journey as well. It doesn't matter
Mm,
what time I get up on Sunday mornings. It doesn't
mhm.
matter if I sit around
Right.
and have coffee for 2 hours or if I go
Yes.
for a really intense workout. I always fall asleep after church. We come home from church, we have lunch, and then
Yeah.
I lay down, and it's gotten to be a joke with my husband. I'm like, "Well, I'm, quote, reading," and then I read for
Hmm.
15 minutes, and it's like God's like, "You've got to rest." So, I love
Yeah, you know what? I have learned to love the linger, you know,
that.
and
Mm,
whether that means I fall asleep or I'm just in bed hanging out with my dog, you know what? Sometimes I'm scrolling TikTok. Like, there are lots of different ways to disconnect. And people talk about disconnecting from social media. And if that's what you need to do, absolutely fine. But a lot of my life is lived in that third gear. And
yeah.
I want to be able to say, you know what? Let's have a glide for a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Kathi, before I ask my last question, I just have to tell you how grateful I am for you in my
Mm,
life. You have had some wonderful podcasts for communicators. You
yeah.
currently have the Writing at the Red House. I have learned so much from you that in my first book, I said to one of my online mentors, Kathi Lipp, and I'm sure that you got that and you're like, I need to look her up again because I'm not exactly sure
No,
who this
no,
is.
no, 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 no. I've always known exactly who you are, friend.
But the point is, I just honor the work that you do for communicators. And I brought that up because we have some bloggers in our community, we have
Mhm.
some communicators. And so, you guys, if you need some guidance and need a gentle hand, with that, go listen to Writing at the Red House, Clutter Free Academy, and then the Sabbath Soup. You guys, this is such a great resource. Like I said, I've gotten to have a sneak peek at it. It is wonderful and beautiful and definitely worth your purchase. But Kathi, I do like feel like I need to just, it's a full circle moment for me. So I'm so honored to have you into our little Grace Health space.
Amy, let me just say, I think, if I could have two legacies, can I pick two? Can I pick two legacies? One is to help women, especially around my age, to be gentler with themselves. And two, I every once in a while I'll see, like, these two people are connected on Facebook, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, these two people are connected. I love that. How do they know each other?" And so I'll send them a little message, "How do you guys know each other?" And they said, "We know each other because of you, Kathi." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "That's my favorite thing ever. That I introduce, like, this amazing person and this amazing person." So, you know what? That it means the world to me, Amy. It really, really does.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You do a lot. You rest well, or you're learning to
Mhm.
rest well, at
I'm
least.
learning.
But when you're not resting, you serve a lot of people. So I just want to
Mm,
thank you for that. Okay.
thank you.
Final question.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot. What is the one simple thing that you would like us to remember about our conversation? Big or small, just one simple thing.
You don't have to do a week's worth of meals. You don't have to do all the shopping and plan. If you're like, Kathi, I can't even. Can I ask you on Friday or Saturday, could you make a pot of soup that you could put on the oven for Sunday? Could you just take care of your future self? Because I'm guessing if planning a week's worth of meals is too much, then somebody needs to be taking care of you. And it may be your past self taking care of your future self. I just want that for you. And if you're preparing soup means you buy two containers at Costco, then let that be your soup. But I just want you to take care of you. That would mean the world to me.
Yes, so good. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.